so that we may start. People at the back, can you just confirm if I'm audible, not too loud, with a thumbs up? Thank you. Well, good morning everybody and speakers for the day. We have an action-packed agenda for you. I request all of you to keep your mobile phones on silent mode and make the best use of this. Don't join the bandwagon. There is a great amount of confusion in terms of what it can do and what it cannot do. This is understandable too, considering that on one hand, there are very strong believers, and on the other, strong skeptics. We have planned an unconference with our expert speakers. Each speaker will talk about a specific topic and then take a few questions from the audience. We have identified the most contemporary event to please join us on the dais. Pankaj, as you all know, is a moonshot thinker, dreamer, and a self-confessed technology addict. He is the founder and chief mentor at Idea Labs. He has been recognized as one of the top 30 block. May I now invite one of the most prominent faces in the blockchain ecosystem, Mr. Prasanna Lohar. A true blockchain evangelist, he wears multi-blockchain forum. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause. The next speaker I have the privilege to invite is a person you would rather be familiar with, released by the Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, and Tamil Nadu government's blockchain policy. He led strategy and advisory initiatives for Government Blockchain Association, India commentator on all leading channels in India. India Today, NDTV, Republic Media, Mirror Now, News X, and CNBC Awaaz. As a mentor for Barclays Rise, security and blockchain specialist, notable industry speaker, an innovator, an influencer with proven success in spearheading strategic information security initiatives with for critical advice and solutions to the ever-growing challenges in the world of cybersecurity, darknet, etc. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause. Bangalore, with over 30 years industry experience. He's worked as a lead consultant for blockchain and emerging technologies at the Government of India and NASSCOM promoted company NISG, which is National Esteemed Speakers, with a huge round of applause. Wow, it can't get better than this, can it? I would request Mr. Devan to navigate. Because it shows the kind of intent and interest that all of you have in Web3 related technologies. Thank you so much. In fact, just to add, we had almost about 4, all of you know, Hyderabad is one of the booming centers for blockchain development. Government of Telangana and a lot of other partners started the blockchain movement quite early. So I think, okay. So I'll start with Prasanna. Prasanna, one of the, questions that keeps coming back and people ask is blockchain just a hype? Is it there? Has the blockchain moment arrived? Because we've been talking about blockchain forever. As someday it's like, things are crashing down. So can you, set the context in terms of where we are in India? And then I have a few more questions for you.
Yeah, I think so. So 1995, since now you are able to do Google Pays, Phone Pays, or there are a lot of magical use cases around us, and we cannot live without that. And I think pandemic has given a lot of acceleration to utilize. Go and do the transaction on a Flipkart or on a POS or a ePOS or anywhere and toll tag. Actual payout happens to that merchant where you are doing transaction on the next day. That is how the trust is built. What more such use cases are there on the internet where trust is needed, and automatically those kind of use cases smartly automated with the help of a blockchain. But not only in blockchain, but it has to work with the biggest use case for any other country to follow how to really implement blockchain, right? So Dubai has started their smart Dubai vision. So I think blockchain is not now a technology so-called hype. It is a real banks or any of those regulated entities is all filtered at a blockchain network, typically implemented by Geos, Airtels, Vodafone. I think That's the real use case which we have seen. Apart from that, many system when there was a lot of losses and fallbacks on various banks in US, UK, but attention has gone to something else. But let's look at that foundation technology has bring lot of a larger waiting of 3 days, 7 days, no more reconciliation settlement which typically happens in a cross-border payment. Now imagine what more use cases will come. You may imagine, you may not imagine, but there is a larger chunk everywhere. So every corporate are of those large-scale use cases like trade finance and so on, so which is being supported now by RBI Innovation Hub. So RBI Innovation Hub is one of the subsidiary of regulator, right? So likewise, regulator is now looking at a blockchain, these kind of use cases. Telangana is recently was announced a blockchain district. There are a lot of use cases are being done. Now people may say that this UAE, right? So I think there is a lot of attention to this technology, and let's see what more use cases coming in. I think there are NFTs, DeFi's, cross-border payment use cases. We never thought UPI will come, right? It was in paper in 2013, but just imagine NPCI said we will launch it by 16, and they have done it. So we just come up with an attention that how do we promote Web3 solutions? How do we promote innovative solution, emerging tech solutions with and now they are sitting on a lot of investment in Gift City. They have done 4 or 5 cohorts around Web3 technology. So I think it's a foundation where ultimately consumer will be benefited. So we'll not be surprised that there will be some wheat coin backed by some CBDC, or sugarcane coin backed by CBDC, or a solar coin or a milk coin. This is what we will derive, right? Out of those. India is a hub for software technology. We should become a hub for blockchain and the relevant other technologies. Yeah.
Thanks, Prasanna. Thanks for laying out so clearly. This tells you, right, that now trust is related to identity. And one of the biggest challenges of internet, as we know, is the anonymity of internet and the challenge of identity management.
The world also brings a lot of challenges with respect to authentication, impersonation, identity thefts. So the existing Web 2 models of identity may not be sufficient to governance layers, and built on top of that application layers, and then access layers in terms of wallets. So in an immersive world or a metaverse, your wallet will be an identifier, right? And your wallet, or the identity wallet, will allow you not only to or lending or securities, if one person has been KYC'd once, so that verifiable credentials, and since verifiable credentials and DIDs are part of the Web3 standard, now they made public that they are metaverse now. So to begin with, they are putting out information with respect to products. Maybe this is the insurance product or the banking product. There no CBDC is nothing but a central bank digital currency or a sovereign money which doesn't require any counterparty guarantee. It's backed by the sovereign nation, right? It's central bank money or the M0 money, right? So there's no counterparty involved, so settlement can really happen seamlessly, and that's why we are seeing multiple CBDC bridges in terms of Hong Kong Monetary Authority and then Bank of Thailand, MAS, right? So they're again looking at CBDC bridges. So these, and since banks are moving to the space, and if CBDCs were to happen in CBDC related payments also were to happen in international trade settlements in Indian rupees, because they want to kind of de-risk themselves from the US dollar reserves, is not going to happen soon, because US dollar will remain the global reserve currency. But imagine a case where if we were to import commerce, meta commerce, and other aspects. Thank you.
One question which a lot of people wrote in the request form was also about in the context of the social media,
where he's looking at creating identity on the Bitcoin network, and he wants to plug in that with Twitter as a platform, because on Twitter bots are there are different bots as in social media platforms.
Sure. Thanks. Any specific question anyone in the audience has? We can probably take one quick question. Can some volunteer help me with the circulation
question, right? CBDC is a big game, right? It's not something which will happen overnight. So whenever we design CBDC, there are 4 steps to really look at design of the every CBDC. First of very important step is the monetary policies, which all those to really have, right? Say example, China has its own pie of their for retail CBDC as well as for a wholesale. It will not be all together. It will be a step-by-step implementation for every other country. Other banks also to participate, because central bank digital currency is a RBS currency. What does it mean? There is no role for other banks. But eventually the way we act exact their currency, but they have put pseudo currency to start or begin with how it really reflects, and at the end of it they are doing that reconciliation with their actual currency. That's the way to look at it, so that there should not be any rollback. If a rollback is there, then it's a failure of
issued way more than amount of loans that we...
So it will be part of the central bank money. So you have central bank money, commercial deposits, and the lending is done to increase the money supply. So commercial banks like State Bank of India, public and other public sector banks.
I'll take one question after this. We can have a lot of more questions during the networking session.
An email, right? It's not a person. It's not an identity. You can have 100 wallets for different use cases. So not always would you even be tying them up together, and even for scammers or people who just want to keep things separate, you can just keep spawning new wallets, right? So how does that whole...
So that we can move further. So Colonel Saab, this question leads us to your area of expertise, because we've spoken about use cases, we've spoken about CBDC, wallets, sabhi hoga, but safe...
really work up on a blockchain, very few. So, but then the talk about cybersecurity is really huge, because it's all money. Threats are there in a blockchain as well. So while we say blockchain is very secure, the transactions are secure, but your code is insecure. We never think of that. So 1 point metaverse. If I look for a figure of 7 billion as a population, say 10 billion by 2030, just imagine 50% of the population, as per them, as per the study, is going to be in metaverse. If that is going to be right, but at the same time, when I say the monitoring of the users, whenever you put that VR or the AR part of it, once you have all these kind of details, your avatar can be created and up of your expressions, even your hand movement, because the moment you put a haptic sensor on the hand and arm and all movement, going to be storing all that data, right? Where is the data going to be? Who's going to be using the data? How is that data going to be stored? Transactions, what we are doing in metaverse. And we're already seeing OpenSea, that's a platform. We had a hack of NFTs of 1.7 million in the month of February. We've already seen that. So phishing attacks, we're going to have the ransomware attacks, because they can do your credential theft, your identity theft, and then they can really get onto you with your data and do the ransomware attack and ask, you're just not gone beyond that antivirus and a firewall, which is all hackable. How are you going to do that? Right? So I'm not scaring you, but that's a fact. Right? And other thing, we are into the Web 2.0, we talk of the cyber cops. Right? It's a most used buzzword. Similarly, we're going to be talking of something, a meta cops, in due course of time, because the kind of crimes, what are the laws which are going to govern in the metaverse? There's something which will have to be thought of, meta laws. IPFS platform, right, the protocols which are there. So that's how the next 10 years are going to be. But cybersecurity is going to be at the forefront and compound.
Everything that you said, and the other who looked at this as music to their ears, so many opportunities for the startups, so many opportunities for the young people here who will have a new wave of job opportunities in all these areas. So can I have a quick person who are in this hall, but also to the 100% rest of the people outside, out in the world, right? So I think it's a great feedback to get. So I'm happy that in terms of the adoption of blockchain in enterprise. And I see a lot of enterprise leaders here, Ramesh from Informatica, Mukesh from Google, Dinesh Chandrasekhar from Pacta Blockchain. So would you want to talk about it?
Thank you. Thank you, Pankaj, and also giving me the opportunity to be a part of the founding for team of IBF and this entire blockchain technology. But before that itself, organizations like PwC, Deloitte, so all the leading consultancy companies and IBM and India's leading companies like Infosys, Tech Mahindra, Wipro, supports the tech team who are able to grasp this, capabilities of this technology and the impact that it could bring about. But in terms of users, the CIOs, or the people who would rather invest in this technology and adopt it, that was way back in 2017. Then Andhra Pradesh, Chandrababu Naidu automated land pooling system on blockchain. Then in Kerala, we did in 2018, just about 2 days back. So now there is a big movement that is happening in terms of adoption of blockchain across the ecosystem, and none other than our primary now understands that it is the way to go. And daily you coming across more and more use cases. Prasanna has talked about so many use cases. So the enterprises have now, traditionally the big large enterprises who are supposed to invest in, try to, stonewall any efforts to adopt blockchain. But as blockchain started permeating more and more, a lot of innovation is happening, a lot of smaller, it is becoming easier and depend on your, whatever you're investing in blockchain applications. So because there are not so many live use cases that have spent, lots of time and which are able to return, so many organizations, they have to invest. So it becomes very difficult to, gauge how, who is going to benefit, how much you're going to benefit, and how, UCC tracking on telecom. All telecom companies are part of the largest blockchain application in the world, right? So, thankfully that is in India. So that is done by Tech Mahindra, and IX would not be trusted because people would think, there could be fakes, which could not be traced, which they would be buying, right? If they're not on the blockchain, if they cannot scan a QR code and find migration. A lot of people are invested heavily on the centralized technologies and the Web2 technologies. Web3 is all about decentralization, is all about distribution, is all about especially in India where regulation is not very favorable, right? Because how do you tokenize? How do you exchange those tokens and then monetize those? But then you need to integrate with large-scale enterprise use cases which involve a lot of privacy and confidentiality and a lot of IPs, etc. A lot of work being done, whether it is health records or whether to combine both this system and offer the full power of Web3 technologies, that is decentralization, distribution, as well as tokenization. Right? Otherwise, so for that is the reason why we require, all these are all, involving tokenomics. Currently, all these things, they're happening in India in a small way, but everything is happening through organizations which are not based in India.
Questions are also coming online. So we've picked up a few questions, but just before I request Sharat to answer one of the questions for him, there's also a question, Colonel.
And the security of women, very important. So it's only a matter of time. We are going to see how the security of women is going to take place in metaverse.
Thank you.
Platform or there is a consortium of 40+ companies, and furthermore 40 will become 400 to create lot of standards around metaverse. I think this will be one of those agendas, creation of policies, creation.
Would have a lot of questions related to the clarity of policy, and Srini emphasized so much about how do we move forward unless there is a clarity. I just want to inform all the audience, I'm sure all of you, identity and virtual lands and assets all need to be bought via cryptos in India as of now. Will the participation in metaverse be restricted because of that? I think very relevant question.
Yeah, so I think the participation will be restricted.
Some of these things are also being discussed at all levels in the government. But I think when Mr. Jayesh Ranjan is here, we'll also try and put some of these questions and see what is his opinion on that.
Pankaj, I will just give one example that there is already a template out there.
I'm very hopeful because if you look at the way NPCI has worked in the last few years, the adoption of UPI that has happened, starting from TRAI in the telecom world to where we have come today, I think our regulators have generally lived up to the expectation. Blockchain ready or I'm Web3 ready. But just to give a little understanding to everyone here, Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge, which is a government of Telangana body, they have launched.
And the guys who are younger, they need to skill themselves for all these technologies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in doubt, I check with my son and that gives me more confidence. So, I could talk to the
This would require continuous dialogue with various stakeholders in the system, be it academia, industry, policy makers, or the community. Moving on to our next section. There are C22-23, IBC Media is presenting an opportunity to learn, to participate, to network, and to showcase skills and ideas at a global scale. I would like to invite to the table a multitude of competencies backed by a sound foundation in emerging technologies, especially blockchain, aerospace, and private equity. He has worn multiple hats in various capacities. However, before I invite him on the stage, can we please play the glimpses of IBC 2018 and refresh our memories?
Ceremony of the first ever Industry Government Conference, the International Blockchain Congress 2018.
Blockchain.
Lopa's vision, if you think about it, is a culmination of IoT, blockchain, and machine learning. Lopa's vision.
So we in Goa government are very keen on bringing forward a center of excellence for blockchain in Goa, and we'll be happy to collaborate on this initiative. We promise.
Wow.
Blockchain Forum. Thanks to the entire organizing committee. I think it's a fantastic event. I wouldn't expect these many people on a Sunday. So there's something obviously going on that we all are here. Next, I would like to this space, and they want to invest, in the new evolution of startups. So there will be some investors, right? So there are some investors. So I think so far we have heard of all the controversial a lot. I have been, just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in Web 3.0 since 2012. People must have heard about Bitcoin, Ethereum. We were basically I was in Silicon Valley as a founder. I did a Web 3.0 startup in this space globally and growing every day. Number one. There are close to around 2,500 crypto funds that are investing globally. They're close to about 3,000. You can be the best Web 2.0 developer, maybe having experience of about 15 years, and you're still topping 100K in the best of organizations, and I have nothing wrong in it. But all I'm trying to point out is the demand of talent that is currently missing in the Web 3.0 space, and why. And then in 3 days, I raised $40 million worth liquidity. We ended up doing the largest ICO instrument. Now 2017 was early on, but what Web 3.0 has changed? Find a copycat startup and people will fund you here in India. But if you're trying to innovate something, unless and until you have a proven model, you're not going to get capital. But what has changed? Web 3.0 as a new future of internet has created this world platform for getting investment if you have credible ideas. How many unicorns have been created in what average amount of time in Web 3.0? Let's make a comparison. The fastest unicorn that was created in India took 7 years, called Mishu. Founder is a very good friend. And I've heard so much about India. Important to pay attention is in 2 years. That's an important number. And that's what has changed. What has changed, how you get there, I would leave those details for you to be curious about and engage. Now the question comes back, how do you engage? Professional, as an investor, IBC Media conducted one hackathon and a few accelerations and one conference in 2018. This year, we promised the next time we do it, we'll make it large. over 1 million engineers across 1,000 engineering schools, so that engineers here can take advantage of the job opportunities. We are bringing, like I said, all companies that are recruiting in the space to come and recruit from the engineering talent here in Web 3.0 globally. We are organizing the biggest startup competition where the winner will be part of the community of IBC Media. And finally, we are bringing all government participants, industry participants, investment participants to come join us and create this ecosystem for India, for the founders, for the engineers, for the professionals, to meet. Very important, because we are providing you free education, free access to opportunity. As a professional, we'll give you access to the employers that you want to work with. As an investor, we'll give you access to the co-investors you can co-invest with. And as founders, we will make sure that you get the best accelerator. And Web 3.0 is the future of internet, as people say. We can always speculate, but we'll find out. But guess what? This is your opportunity as an individual to take advantage of, because you don't have to be a Google or a Facebook or an Instagram to make a difference anymore.
You understand the scale of the events, and globally at that Mr. Abhishek was just talking about. Let's have a quick trip down the memory lane with the hackathon video of season 1 in 2018.
And that's what makes things like hackathons interesting. For anyone who says it's just an event, this is the story that you should now be telling.
But showing up and sitting here for days and really coding and doing things, it can transform your life. Some of you guys, I see 5 years, 6 years, 10 years from now, 2 years from now, you'll come up to me and say, remember I was sitting in that room? That's my company, doing 100.
The 2 days that you're here to hack, but ensure that the fire continues for weeks and months. It needs to be you guys, it needs to be people like Idea Labs that bring it together.
First off, I want to thank all the industry leaders, Rajesh joining us, and everybody here across 12 states, and we have almost 40 plus mentors.
This requires a lot of duplicate paperwork, like multiple copies are required to verify authenticity.
So I really like the idea of having an escrow account that you're creating for the payments. Can the customs department get
the ideas that we saw are pretty interesting, and we will see the interface of academia and industry would start to do wonders in future.
I could see passion, enthusiasm.
Offering a global platform. It would not be an overstatement to say that a lot of blockchain adoption will depend on policy initiatives by our governments. Anyone who is in the blockchain space would be excited to know the mind.
Around the corner, should be joining anytime. Meanwhile, I thought I'll just take this opportunity to collect some questions from all of you that you may have for the other speakers also, but especially for the session that is going to follow. And in fact, since Abhi is...
Abhi, it's a really wonderful, 2018 one, which I missed it. I'm into the space of AI and data science aspects, where we work largely on text intelligence and computer vision mix. Now, this is the thing which I want to communicate to her, but it's impossible for her with that set of mindset to come over to this place. And the only thing which I can share is ibc.media, but I don't think they do even have such kind of a confidence.
Engineers across 1,000 schools, engineering and non-engineering. How are we doing that? We are doing an outreach to all schools with our outreach partners. And does that mean we will cover everybody? Maybe not. But what we are relying on are our friends who are in schools, who are education professionals, to
initiatives in the state of Telangana, which has received national and global appreciation. We will be conversing with Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Industry and Commerce and IT, Government of Telangana, Singapore. Mr. Ranjan has several outstanding achievements and initiatives to his credit, and amongst his several distinctions, he was awarded the Royal Order of the Polar Star by His Majesty on the stage with a huge round of applause.
Startups can look forward to. So I'll go around the questions based on some research that we have done and some of the questions we've got. Request you to talk a little about the idea of T-Hub itself, because this is a world-class facility, now the world's largest innovation campus, and I'm sure everyone who has
message seriously. Maurya and someone is there? Okay, couple of people are there. Actually, I'm familiar with this, but this whole business has a very interesting beginning. See, what happened was that 8 years ago, when the state came into being in 2014, as possibly some of you would know, the reason why there was a demand to create a separate state of Telangana was the sense of relative deprivation. When you were a part of the combined Andhra Pradesh was, see, the minister also used a very evocative phrase. So the question that he posed was that, see, we have missed out on to catch up for all the lost opportunities. So pole vault, as we understand, you jump almost, let us say, 5 times your height or 10 times your height. So this was the important technology breakthroughs, technology solutions, which have a very far-reaching impact. They are all coming from the world of startups. So the state should look at startups, would be familiar with. One was in IIIT, which is the CIE, and the third was in the Genome Valley, called the IKP. 30-40 people, 30-40 startups. And the minister and I were sitting like this, the startups were there. And the minister asked a question that, what do you want the government to do for you? And you will not believe it, to take in a country like ours, to tell that you don't need to pay any tax for 20 years is a big thing. But they don't acknowledge it. They say that the government stayed away, therefore, which is also partly true, because which is the genesis of T-Hub, many startups told us that, see, all of us know, when we look around, we see what's happening in this area. This is the Cyberabad area. So many startups told us that we would like to be in cyber for reasonably priced space, affordable space, so to say, where the startups can work. So the initiation of T-Hub was more like a facility where you can offer lower rent or an affordable rent real. All of us now know that T-Hub's reputation is built not because of the architecture of the building or the interiors and all that, but because of what happens inside that building. And now we are moved to a second facility, which is this. And as you can see for yourself, this is 5 times bigger than that. So this startup policy, many of those ideas came in that small interaction which we had in IIIT, where they told us about their pain points. So after we returned from that interaction, the clear message which the minister told us was what would happen after that policy was written. So he made it very clear to us that don't write those kind of, it's not an English, it's not an essay writing competition that you are participating in. You have to find solutions to the problems which they have expressed. So list out all the institutions which are around, not able to find the first customer, not able to get access to data. All these challenges, pain points which you mentioned, everything is answered in the policy.
Wonderful, sir. The blockchain initiatives in the state, and yesterday you gave us a little hint about some announcement which is going to be made today. So I also request you to talk a little about that as well.
Technology, we should embrace startups who bring those technologies. So again, as a government, this is something very novel and very unique, that we created a wing in our IT department whose job was to exclusively focus on emerging technologies. And all this is way back in 2014 rather. So use cases elsewhere in the world. So in 2014 itself, we had identified 8 such emerging technologies. Of course, AI is something which is very prominent today. In 2014 also, it was beginning to show its prowess. So AI was one, but blockchain was the other one, which we had identified. And controversy started, like, trading in crypto, the valuations, and some people losing their money when the valuations go down and things like that. Became very speculative. Then Reserve Bank started commenting on it, dissuading governments from getting into this kind of activity. And they, for some reason, they're still on the technology part, states have complete autonomy to adopt it in whichever way we would like to do. So what we do is that for every piece of technology that we are interested in working on, we do three things. One is that an international institution, and what roles will be played by the startup. So that document is there. So our blockchain framework, or the blockchain policy as you call, again is something, and we prepare all these documents through lots of bottoms-up kind of research. It's not a ambitious, top-driven kind of a doc. In the morning, someone spoke about the blockchain district. It happened, isn't it? People are aware about blockchain district.
So you could touch upon it.
No, so it's an institutional, it's a governance arrangement. It's an institutional arrangement. So the founding partners, when we launched our blockchain programs, institutions, we bring talent, the best talent that is available. See, we are never, right from day one, we have never been under any illusion that the government itself is full of talent. In fact, we are very clear in our minds that far superior talent is outside the government rather than inside the government. And they are people whom we have recruited. They're one of the 350 people. So this again is a very reformative kind of a thought process, that you recognize that government has limitations. Government should stay away from micromanagement. Government should yield space to better talent which is available outside. So this is the genesis of how we have started, or 2017 rather, 2017 and today, that is 2022, 5 years. We would have tried out at least 24+ use cases in the government. And some of them are very, very significant. I was speaking in an event yesterday. Many of you were there, but not all were there. So I can reconnect it with democracy, and all kinds of noises are made and all. But whatever could be the reason, one of the basic fundamental reasons is the sheer inconvenience of the voting process. You don't know where your name is, you struggle to find out the polling station, you go there, there's no kind of organized system, you stand in long queue, voter is identified. See, typically when a regular vote happens, in-person voting that is, lots of contentious issues are raised. For example, impersonation is a big thing. Like, you are not you, you are voting for someone else, then your voter ID card, your photograph, all these things are matched. And typically say that the ruling party has tampered. Whoever loses, the easiest excuse is to say that I would have won, but they have configured the EVMs in such a way that whatever button I press, all votes are going to this person only, which is blatantly untrue. And some of you may know this default. See, you can't even see who is voting from where. So we have been able to allay all these doubts, apprehensions, to showcase how voter is identified, for which he used a facial recognition technology with a very strong AI algorithm. And we were able to show how the vote text, and this is a very good exemplar of that. And obviously all of us understand the dynamics around voting. Everything can be questioned, everything can be doubted, everything can be blamed, but we have been able to show a situation where nothing of that sort can happen. So it's a very big achievement, and as I said, it has happened because of, but in our bureaucracy, this example is often quoted, that someone once even sold the Charminar, showing that it belongs to him, and some gullible person from, I think Dubai or somewhere, he thought that he's going to own a good property in Hyderabad. So obviously clear that there is an informal credit system, credit and loaning system, which is called chit funds. And they are popular all over the country. Throughout the country, people subscribe to chits. And it's an extremely messy system, extremely non-transparent. In a state like West Bengal, there's a huge scam which has broken out. It is called the Sharat scam. Streamline the way chit funds are administered, and it has helped in multiple ways. The transparency has come, the ability to have control over the auditing and the accounting, etc. How much money is coming, how much you have to pay to whom. All that has become very, very transparent. 2-3 other very good use cases are there. Here, of course, in all these 3 cases, I've done something for us. This is to improve the credit worthiness of self-help groups, self-help group members. See, some of you may not know this, but in many states in the country, poor women who live in rural areas are organized into self-help groups. The members as well. The group loan eventually gets distributed to the members repay it, then they get back. And obviously there'll be variation. Some members will be more prompt, some members will be less prompt. But when you are aggregating everything, this variation gets kind of covered up. So with the help of StatWig, we are now trying to figure out that Hyderabad is a very important center for the pharmaceutical industry. And while the industry is doing well, it is really thriving. But one very, very unhappy or a very unpleasant kind of thing which has entered into the system is the manufacturing and sale and distribution of fake medicines, spurious medicines. And in some we have is called vehicle life cycle management, where the entire journey of a car, right from the time it is manufactured in a factory, because we noticed, in fact, the transport department told us that there are lots of leakages, revenues which ought to come to them. They don't come when particularly many such examples. And all these are coming again from the very avowed announcement which we have made in our policy that the government will be leader in adoption. We will lead by example, and then enterprises and everyone else is welcome to also encourage blockchain providers to do so.
Amazing, sir. I think so. Sir, taking from the point that you mentioned about Charminar, right? While it's a joke that Charminar was sold, today it's practically possible to sell Charminar, perhaps as an NFT, without actually selling the real Charminar. And that is where a lot of startups want to know what is the clarity in policy, and request you to dwell on that.
So first of all, I should admit that our confusion is not any less. We are equally confused. But to come out of that confusion, we are doing something very important, very significant. And that was the big announcement which I was planning to make. So I'm glad that you led me. It's all well documented. So we met their top brass, and then they told us something, that we are very keen to fund startups in this domain. But unfortunately, all the startups in this domain, once they mature, are either going to Dubai or to Singapore. So we engaged them on this conversation. Why is it? Why do you think that instead of remaining in India, they can go anywhere, they can be in relation? So at that instant moment itself, we decided that we will help in clearing this confusion, clearing this ambiguity. So the announcement that I'm making is that we are setting up, unfortunately I'm not able to give you a precise date, but as soon as possible, we are setting up a regulatory sandbox on Web 3.0 to prove that. So we get you all those approvals. As a government, it's not your kind of responsibility to run around. And of course, if you're coming with something which is of relevance to the government, we help you in adoption, in scaling up, and all those things. But as I said, like anything else, and like everything else, I'm here to talk to people in the breaks and networking sessions, etc. So do let us know over a next few days, what do you expect, what are the pain points that you are facing, what are the challenges you are facing, so that when we create this, we create something which addresses, as all of us know. So we will be discussing with them how would they like the the governance, etc. of this regulatory sandbox. 2 of the VC firms have shown interest in actually becoming a part of that regulatory sandbox and supporting it. One is the same VC whom we met us, not just as a state, but as a country, to improve the levels of regulation, to be more business friendly. But at the same time, so when I say that there is a pushback from the Reserve Bank, there is a pushback for some reasons which look to be valid. So we also need to ensure that there are adoption, etc., etc. We hopefully will lead this community, the Web 3.0 community, in the same path. Because the fundamental objective of Web 3.0 is very, very important. I mean, that is very relevant, very important, and it is in keeping with the modern ethos of the world, that things should be.
Because this sets a precedence for other governments also to engage, for other governments also to start thinking on these lines and engage with this sandbox that you're talking about. So thank you so much for this. There will order to Jay sir and ask him, can government take a more nuanced and crypto versus NFT versus this, and all this answers all their queries. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this this thing. So we can go on with
India Blockchain Forum. India Blockchain Forum has been started with a vision to make India a global hub for blockchain and Web 3.0 in 2021. The current members include global influencers and leaders from policy-making bodies, blockchain technology companies, blockchain practice leaders from large IT services, leaders from academia, startups, and community.
Best wishes to the continued success of the India Blockchain Forum. I also appreciate the fact that the momentous occasion of the 75 years of our country's independence that is captured as a country in so many areas over the last 75 years. There are still some very, very gaping issues, problems, challenges, particularly for people who live in rural areas or even in cities. As you know, there are neighborhoods. As a India Blockchain Forum, we push technologies, promote technologies, see them adopted by state governments, other agencies, enterprises, and really make technology work for social good for the people. So good wishes to all.
Okay. Well, there is now going to be an MOU exchange between India Blockchain Forum and Succeed Innovation. May I invite Mr. Vikrant Varshne, Managing Partner of may I request Anisha to please pass on the memento to Mr. Pankaj Diwan so that he can.